In a quiet village by the edge of a forest, there lived a watchmaker named Elias. He was old and gentle, with silver hair and hands that trembled only when they were still. For years he had repaired every clock, watch, and hourglass in the village, always saying the same thing: time is a gift, but it's also a thief if you waste it. People nodded politely but rarely listened. Among them was a young man named Thomas. Strong, clever, and full of dreams, but always in the future. "I'll visit my mother next week," he would say. "I'll start my business next year. I'll apologize tomorrow. I'll live later." He was always running, yet going nowhere. One day, Elias invited Thomas into his workshop. The air smelled of oil and wood, and dozens of ticking clocks filled the room with life. On the workbench sat a beautiful hourglass filled with golden sand. "This," Elias said, "is the last hourglass. It doesn't measure time like others. It shows how much time you have left." Thomas laughed. "Is this some kind of trick?" Elias smiled. "Flip it." Thomas did, and only a few grains of sand fell before it stopped. He stared at it, confused. "That's not right. I'm only 27. Elias nodded slowly. "The hourglass doesn't lie. Your time is shorter than you think." There was a worry started coming in Thomas' eyes. "Let me tell you a story," Elias said. "Long ago, in a fertile valley ruled by sun and rain, there lived a farmer named Matteo. He inherited the richest land from his father, but he was young, full of confidence, and always said, 'There's still time. In spring,' he said, 'let me rest a little longer. I'll plant next week.' Weeks passed. Spring began to fade. The seeds sat untouched. 'In summer,' he said, 'it's too hot now. I'll plant tomorrow. One more day won't hurt.' The sun blazed. The ground dried. Still, no planting. In autumn, the rains came. Matteo panicked. He finally ran to the field, tossing seeds into the wet earth. But the ground had changed. It was cold, slippery, and late. By winter, nothing had grown. His barn was empty. His animals thin. His neighbors, who had planted on time, were safe and fed. Matteo sat by a dying fire, whispering, "I thought I had more time." But time, like the seasons, waits for no man. Back in the workshop, Elias looked Thomas in the eye and said, "There is always a season to act. And if you miss it, not even the richest land will feed you." Thomas sat in silence, the echo of Elias's words hanging in the air like the ticking of 1,000 clocks. The golden grains in the hourglass gleamed faintly in the lantern light, unmoving. For the first time, Thomas felt the weight of time, not as a distant idea, but as something living and vanishing second by second. He walked home that night through the quiet village streets, his thoughts loud. The stars overhead seemed sharper, the air colder, the world suddenly more real. At dawn, he knocked on his mother's door. She blinked in surprise when she saw him. "I thought you were too busy," she said gently. "I was," Thomas replied. "But now I know what I almost lost." Each day after, he built something, not just with wood and nails, but with presence. He opened the shop he had dreamed of, and not just to sell things, but to create space for people to gather. He helped a neighbor fix a leaky roof. He read stories to children outside his shop under the shade of a wide tree. He lived each day not in fear, but in gratitude, as though the hourglass was still counting. Time is the one gift we can never give back, nor borrow more of. Every moment spent with intention becomes a thread in the fabric of a life well lived. You can earn money, rebuild dreams, and mend broken things, but not a single lost second returns. Time doesn't shout. It slips past softly, quietly asking, "Are you paying attention?" What you do with your time becomes who you are. Waste it, and you vanish with it. use it, and you leave something behind.